The 7 Sutra Statements and meditations to go with them from The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire by Deepak Chopra. 1. Aham brahmasmi. The core of my being is the ultimate reality, the root and ground of the universe, the source of all that exists. Imagine that the whole universe is being played out inside you. Aham brahmasmi. Imagine that you are connected to everything that exists. Aham brahmasmi. Imagine that you are like a crystal bead. You reflect the light of all other sentient beings. You also reflect the light of the whole universe. Aham brahmasmi. Imagine that you're a strand in the cosmic thread connected to all the other strands. Aham brahmasmi. Imagine that you are eternal. Aham brahmasmi. Tvam asi. I see the other in myself and myself in others. Imagine that your spirit is not only in you, but in all other beings and everything that is. Tvam asi. Imagine that everybody is a reflection of yourself. Tvam asi. Imagine that when you look at the universe, you are looking at your mirror. Tvam asi. Imagine that you see what others see. Tvam asi. Imagine that you can feel what others feel. Tvam asi. Imagine that you are the qualities you most admire in others. Tvam asi. Imagine that others reflect the qualities you cherish in yourself. Tvam asi. Imagine that you are a person in a ball of mirrors where you can see yourself for miles, and every reflection you see is of yourself but appears different. Tvam asi. Sat, chit, ananda. Love, knowingness, bliss. My inner dialogue reflects the fire of my soul. Imagine that you are centered and totally at peace. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that you are looking at the world with knowingness and peace. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that all beings are your equal. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that you are not affected by flattery or criticism. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that you are focused on the journey, not the destination. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that in your presence, all hostility is overcome by a profound peace. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that you've detached from the outcome. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that a deeply profound ocean of calm exists in you that is not affected by any turbulence. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that love radiates from you like light from a bonfire. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that you are in love with everything and everybody. Imagine that you are intoxicated with love. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that the right answer comes to you spontaneously whenever you are confronted by any question. Sat, chit, ananda. Imagine that you know exactly what to do in every situation. Sat, chit, ananda. Sankalpa. My intentions have infinite organizing power. Imagine that the whole universe is a vast ocean of consciousness, and your intentions shoot out from within your heart and ripple across that vast ocean of consciousness. Sankalpa. Imagine that your intention is orchestrating the infinite activity of the universe, counterbalancing the whole ecosystem. Sankalpa. Imagine that your intention can heal those who are not well. Sankalpa. Imagine that your intention can bring joy and laughter to those who are in sorrow. Sankalpa. Imagine that you can bring success to those who are failing. Sankalpa. Imagine that you can bring strength to those who feel weak and fearful. Sankalpa. Imagine that you can bring hope to those who are feeling helpless. Sankalpa. Imagine that your thoughts affect the natural forces of the universe, that you can bring rain and sunshine, clouds and rainbows. Sankalpa. Imagine that every thought you have, every word you utter, every deed of yours brings some benefit to the world. Sankalpa. Moksha. I am emotionally free. Imagine that you are without physical form, a field of awareness at all times. Moksha. Imagine that you have left behind forever any sense of anger or resentment. Moksha. Imagine that you are free from blaming, free from feeling blame and guilt. Moksha. Imagine that you are never drawn into melodrama or hysteria. Moksha. Imagine that you can choose any emotional feeling you want to experience. Moksha. Imagine that you can set any goal you want to achieve and actually achieve it. Moksha. Imagine that you are free of your habitual compulsions and patterns of behavior. Moksha. Imagine that you are free of any addictions. Moksha. Imagine that you never participate in any gossip. Moksha. Imagine that you are free to respond at the highest level, no matter what the situation is or how anyone else behaves. Moksha. Imagine that there are no limitations to what you can manifest. Moksha. Imagine that you see infinite possibilities at all times. Moksha. Shiva Shakti. I am giving birth to the gods and goddesses inside me. They express all their attributes and powers through me. Imagine that you are a shapeshifter. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you can be both masculine and feminine if you choose. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you are strong, decisive, courageous, articulate, and powerful. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you are beautiful, sexual, intuitive, nurturing, and affectionate. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you are as stable as a mountain. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you are as flexible as the wind. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you are an angel with wings. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you are an enlightened being with infinite compassion. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you are a divine being of God playing in the celestial realm. Shiva Shakti. Imagine once again that you are a shapeshifter, that you can become any animal, any bird, any insect, any plant, or even a rock. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that all the mythical beings reside in you, although there are some that are your favorite archetypes. Shiva Shakti. Imagine that you can become the heroes and heroines you most admire. Shiva Shakti. Ritam. I am alert, awake to coincidences, and know that they are messages from God. I flow with the cosmic dance. Imagine that you move in rhythm with the impulses of a conscious universe. Ritam. Imagine that you dance to the rhythm of the universe. Ritam. Imagine that your body's rhythms are in perfect order. Ritam. Imagine that your body is a symphony. Ritam. Imagine that you are the harmony of the universe. Ritam. Imagine that every time you seek something, the universe provides clues in the form of coincidences. Ritam. Imagine that there is a connection between what happens in your dreams and what happens in your waking life. Ritam. Imagine that you are transforming and evolving into a higher being. Ritam. Imagine that there is meaning and purpose to everything that happens and everything you do. Ritam. Imagine that you have a contribution to make to the world. Ritam. Imagine that life is full of coincidences. Ritam. Imagine that you notice what others may not notice. Ritam. Imagine that you see the hidden meaning behind events. Ritam. Imagine that life is full of peak experiences. Ritam. Imagine that you have unique talents that you use to serve and help others. Ritam. Imagine that all your relationships are nurturing and playful. Ritam. Imagine that you delight in play and humor. Ritam. Namaste.